Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this one, we're gonna end our uh, four-part video series where geared towards help you get started with the machine learning in Azure. So we have already completed three previous sections in the last three videos. In the first one, we set up our local computer. And second one, we created a Hello World program. And the third one, we trained our model. And in this one, we are going to do these following steps. We're going to configure the training scripts to use data in a local directory, test the training script locally, upload data to Azure, create a control script, understand the new Azure machine learning concepts, and I'm going to follow the official Microsoft documentation for that. All right, so just to show you what we have so far. So we have one machine learning workspace that we created in the very first lab, and we have been running few experiments in here. And if you see, let's see if it opens up, we have ran at least two different experiments, and one of them we ran it multiple times. So this one we ran in the for the first time, and then we ran the experiment train in the previous lab. Uh, and it took 8 minutes 1 second, and we are using the CPU cluster. So if you go into the compute in this workspace, we are not using the compute instance, but we are using a compute cluster, and this is the CPU cluster that we are using. Okay, and if you go to the CPU cluster, it's going to tell you a little bit of the current attributes, how the cluster is deployed, if something is running, things like that. All right. So and in the local environment, we are working with this shell, and here we already have a folder structure created. The Azure ML, this folder, it's got the .config file that has information about how to connect to the workspace that we have created. We have already created some files. Create the workspace. This Python script that we wrote, it allowed us to create the workspace in Azure, and then the create compute helped us to create the compute cluster. Then we created couple scripts to run and test our local environment, as well as using a control script run this code in our cloud cluster. And in the last example, we have tried to train the model and used sample data that is stored under the data folder. And in this module is where we're going to do something new. All right, so here the first thing we're going to do, we're going to adjust the training script. So by now our training script is under tutorial src train.py. So I'm using the Visual Studio Code. So if you go down to train.py, this is the code that I have at the moment. Okay, and what we're going to do, let's parameterize the training script by introducing arguments. So right now we are not using arguments, and using arguments will allow you to easily compare different hyper parameters. So that is important. Okay, the use of arg parse parameterized in the script. So that was something that was already there, and now it's parameterized. So just copy this, and what we'll do, we'll come back to this script over here and paste it. So here, if you want to understand the code change, here is the code, the section where we have the argparse library to set up the data path and the training rate and the momentum. So here basically we are adding the argument for the data path, the training type, and the momentum. Okay, and we are using the argparse to parse our path and everything. Okay, and train.py script also adapted to update the optimizer. So this is another little bit of code that we have also added. Optimizer equal to optim.sgd, net.parameter, ler is args.learning rate, momentum args.momentum. So next thing that we want to do, we want to make sure that code is running properly, and we want to be able to run this code in locally. Okay, So let me make sure that we have everything in here, and this is train. So this is the gold solid circle. So I'm gonna put say Control S to save, or Command S to save this model. And at this time, uh, our folder structure should look like that, and I'm pretty sure we have it this way. If you didn't run locally previous model, you won't have the data directory. So we already have the data. So what we're gonna do, we can do this to just to deactivate if we have the two tutorial environments still enabled. So just to be yeah, this tutorial environment is still enabled. So I'm gonna copy this command to deactivate the tutorial environment and come back to the base environment. And then we are gonna create the environment that we need to run the script by running this code right here, conda env create. And again, it should have everything because we have already downloaded all the modules and anything that is need, all the dependencies in here. So this installing pip dependency shouldn't take long. So let's see what happens. Once we have that, our environment is created. We have to activate this environment as well. So let's see. So it says pip installing dependencies. So I'm just gonna let it run for a second, and we'll pause the video and restart once that's done. Or I actually didn't really pause for more than 2 seconds because, as I said, everything was already downloaded previously, so everything is done. I'm just gonna run a clear command here, and then I'm gonna activate the new environment that we just created by running this. Now you can see that we are in this Python AML env in this environment right now. So at this time, I can run the modified training script by running this. So we're gonna run this train.py, but we're gonna pass these parameters in that script so we can run this code locally. So let's see if that works. Paste and hit enter, and it's now thinking. So here's what we're doing. We are not only we're running the code and we have given the data, we are learning rate, we have provided 0.003, and we have also provided a momentum that is 0.92. So let's see what happens. Okay, while this is running, let's see what else we have. The last thing, you avoid having to download the CIFAR10 dataset by passing in a local path to the data. You can also experiment with different values for the learning rate and momentum hypermeters without having to hard code them in the training script. That's a good thing. So the script, these values that we see, that we can change anytime we like. So here's the model that's now running. Okay, so we can easily change this model, and we can take a look at the output if we like. So this is going on. The calculations are currently done. So the next thing, upload the data to Azure. To run this script in Azure Machine Learning, you need to make your training data available in Azure. Your Azure Machine Learning WorkSpace comes equipped with default data stores. This is an Azure blob storage account where you can store your training data. So this is also important. Your Azure Machine Learning, it already gives you a storage account by default, which is a blob storage. So you can pretty much store anything. Azure Machine Learning allows you to connect other cloud-based data stores that stores your data. For example, you can go to the data store documentation to understand more. So what we need to do at this point, we need to create another script to upload our data to the blob storage. Okay, so first we're gonna go, this is still running. I'm just going to let it run for maybe a couple minutes, and then we'll do it. I don't want to move it from this window at the moment. So let me just pause the video one more second, and then we'll come back. All right, my the training is done over here. So the next thing that we're gonna do, as I said, we're gonna create this particular file. Okay, so let's just come over here. So under tutorial, again, I'm going to do this, create a file, and this file is going to have this particular code, and this is going to upload the code. So from Azure ml.core import workspace. So you're going to get the workspace config then, and data store is the default data store, and data store.upload is source directory is your data, that's where your data is, and target path is dataset CIFAR10 override 2. So let's just do that. So copy, paste the data here, command S to save everything. And so over here we just need to run Python, then upload the data. So let's go back to our shell scripts and then paste and hit enter, and that should upload the data to our blob storage account. Okay, so that is the expectation. You should see the following standard output. So in our command line we should see this. Yeah, so you see this is the what is going on. One files out of the estimated total of 9, two files of an estimated total of 9. So this data is now getting uploaded to our storage account. So come back here, and finally we need a control script. As we have done previously, create a new Python script. I'm going to copy this and go back to tutorial. Here tutorial, I'm going to create the new file and see what kind of code that we need to import here. So this is going to be the control script, and go get it, put it in here. It seems like pretty simple code. Pretty much you are importing your workspace, experiment, environment, script config, and the database, and then pretty much you are initializing your workspace, your data store, your data and your data set in these 3 lines. Then you're setting up your experiment, then you're configuring your environment, your script run config. Then once it's configured, set the PyTorch environment using this, and once it's done, you're just using config.run config environment is environment, and then experiment.submit. So you're submitting the whole configuration. So it's not too bad of a code over here. So so once in this one they have a little tips for understanding the code changes. So dataset is used to reference the data you upload it to the Azure blob storage. Datasets are the abstraction layer on top of your data that are designed to improve reliability and trustworthiness. The config we have already seen is the script run config is modified to include a list of arguments that will be passed to the train.py. Okay, and once everything is done, we are going to run this particular script, and that will submit the run to Azure Machine Learning. So it is going to be in our machine learning workspace, it will show up. Okay, so let's see if that's done. So this is all done. So we can at this time, okay, hold on. So at this time we need to make sure this is available, and yes, it's available. I just need to save it, and then I just need to run this particular code. So this code, Python 06 run Python data PyTorch data, this is going to submit a new experiment in our cloud environment. So if I go back over here, where is my experiments, I should see a new experiment to show up. If not now, in momentarily it will show up in this view. Let's see if it has already picked up. Looks like it has not, but over here it says submitted to compute cluster. Click the link below, right? So I'm gonna refresh it one more time and see if we can see what we are seeing from the command line. Come on. Yeah, there we go. So this is the one that we have just submitted, and it's probably getting ready, or pre-processing or something, processing state. That's how it starts. Then it will be in a running state, and then it will be, oh, it's already run. No, it's queued state. Uh, Once it's done, we'll be able to view the result of it. Okay, let's come back over here. Let's see what else do we need to do. So all of that is done, and inspect the log file. So you can also look at the log file to see what is going on. Um, so log file, there will be a 70 driver log.txt. So what will happen? So in here, right now it's still queued. So what will happen? I'll just click on run one, and if you go to the output logs, all the output logs will show up over here. In that log, you will see this particular output, big old output. Okay, and you will be able to review and understand what happened. So that's all I really wanted to cover in this particular video. And at the end, uh, this you should be cleaning up your resources, but it's saying these resources that are created can be used as prerequisites for other Azure machine learning tutorials and how to articles. If you don't plan to use the resources that you created, delete them. But if you do want to keep using them, then you do not need to delete everything. In the next video that we're going to do, we're going to start working with get started with the Azure Machine Learning Jupyter Notebooks. Okay, so for that, let's meet in the next video. And for now, let's take a final look at if in our Azure, if it's all done. If it's all done, it's good. If not, it's still okay. We already know what to do here. And the only thing that I didn't do in this lab is to just look at the log file, which you should be able to do. All right, that's all I wanted to cover in this videos. In the 4-part series, I'm going to give you the link, and hopefully you have some kind of guidance. If you get stuck, you can watch this video to kind of figure out where you may be doing something wrong. Okay, but good luck, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.